Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. Now, I just gotta say that the Chiefs have the best luck in the entire league, bro. They block the field goal at the end of that game that Broncos should have won. It's just proof that the NFL scriptwriters want the Chiefs to be undefeated this year. It's just in the cards, bro.
Dude, I totally agree. I literally already typed out the title for this week's episode, and the first thing I say in there is Chiefs, luckiest team ever. I know I've talked about it on the pod before, how they've gotten a lot of lucky breaks. In the
Hmm.
Falcons game, I remember Derek Carr getting injured in the Saints game. They've had
Yeah,
a ton of great breaks, balls bouncing their way, and this just epitomizes it all. It's the
it
luckiest thing
does.
that's happened to them
I
yet.
know.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and they could totally
It
afford a
is.
loss still.
I know, dude. It's crazy. And it bothers me even more because I picked Denver. I strategically
Yeah.
sniped that this was Denver's game to win. They were up 14-3. Chiefs just come back and pull off just a ridiculous victory, undeserving win. But that's just the way that it goes when you've got the entire NFL riding on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just inevitable at this point. It's not
Yeah.
pretty. It's not like 2019, 2020 Chiefs, but they're getting it done.
I know, dude. It is crazy. It's crazy, but we'll get into it more in a bit. But it looks like you are actually going to be picking against them this week. As crazy as that is.
I am, but as per usual, if you can get the Chiefs in plus money, it's always going to be one of my best bets. So I'm going to toss that in there as well. But I
Good
do
point. Good
feel
point.
like, the Bills have had their number in the regular season, and that's been vice versa in the playoffs. And who am
Hmm.
I to question that? But just to go over our records from last week, you went 8-6, me 9-5. So now we're tied up again at 94 and 58 overall.
Not bad at all. Definitely happy with the year to date record, although it wasn't my best week. Were a few upsets in there,
Yeah.
which I wasn't quite expecting. I
I
think one
tried
of
to
the
warn you about New Orleans. I don't think
you
I could have been
did.
more vocal about it in the last episode.
You did call that one, bro. I will give you props on that. And then just another one I want to make note of is the Bears that just looked absolutely
Oh,
abysmal against like the one of the worst teams in the league in New
yeah.
England. And I mean, how do they play so poorly? They just couldn't put an offensive play together. It's just terrible.
Yeah, the Bears quickly went from, wow, this team definitely can make the playoffs at 4-2 to this
Yeah.
is a bottom five team in the league now. It went from
Classic Bears.
promising and hopeful and optimistic to
Hmm.
it's the dark times. It's really bad right now. That whole
Yep.
coaching staff is going to be fired. The question
Hmm.
is just when. And Chicago,
Yeah.
they'll probably wait till the end of the year. But let's get into, well, actually, should recap our best bets from last week as well.
Hmm.
I was so excited being 18 and 13 going into Monday Night Football with my dumb two picks on the Rams. Of course, the one time I double up on the game and take the alt spread and the regular spread, they both don't hit. That was
Hmm.
bad. The Rams looked very bear-esque last night. And so I
Yeah.
finished 18 and 15 on the week.
Still a positive week though for you, dude. And overall, you're 121 and 107 on the season. You got to be
That
happy
does
with that
feel pretty
record.
good. That feels pretty good. I'm happy about that. I just hope I need to start hitting some bigger odds bets, some longer odds bets.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that you finally tossed in the alt spread there. I know it didn't hit, but juicing up the odds a little bit definitely will increase that ROI. For me, my gigabet in there as well, the girthiest of the odds, the Rams minus 6.5. Bro, I felt so great about the Rams. We both did, and
Yeah.
that did not come through for us. The Giants did not play all that well this week either. They gave up a loss to Carolina. I can't believe they're sitting at 2-7 right now when I feel like they are a better team than the record says. But the other two bets, Philadelphia -7 was easy, and the Chargers also covered -7.5 against a terrible Tennessee team.
Yeah, nice bets there. Chargers wasn't looking good early, but they really did pull away there as the game went
Mhm.
on.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into our week 11 picks and predictions with Thursday Night Football. Another promising one. Commanders at Philadelphia. I feel like eventually, I do know that the Commanders lost this past week, and I feel like they're due for another one. They had such a hot
Mhm.
start, 7-2, utterly unbelievable. At home here, though, for the Eagles, I think they can get the job done. They have just been so dominant. This is how I remember them from their Super Bowl
Mhm.
run. This is how I remember them from early on last year. I just feel like this will be a little overwhelming for Jaden Daniels, who has kind of fizzled out production wise. I don't believe he had a touchdown, or maybe if he had, it was just one in the game against the Steelers.
Yeah, Philadelphia feels like they've kind of turned around their season a bit. For a few weeks there, they were kind of struggling, but I know they were also battling some injuries with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But now that, the team's mostly healthy again, they're looking really solid. And I'm also going to be taking them this week. Though I will say that historically, at least last year, Washington made both games against Philadelphia extremely competitive. I think one of them went into overtime, and the other one was like maybe like a 3-point game, like a 38-35 or something like that. So I would not be surprised if this is a really close one as well.
Wait a second. I just realized that we gave ourselves credit for the Washington victory, even though that was a loss.
Oh, really?
Oh, goodness. Oh,
Oh,
heavens.
dude, I'm sorry. I
No.
really screwed up the records this week, bro.
So 7-7 for you and 8-6 for me. So we're still at the same. See, I knew like something felt a little off. And I was like, the one time that I actually take Washington, they let me down and lose because
Hmm.
I was contemplating taking Pittsburgh in that game. And sure
Yeah.
enough, they did win. I have been so bad picking Washington this year. Every time I pick them, they lose. Every time I don't pick them, they win. So
Dang.
this one
Well,
does
I
scare me
gotta.
here a little bit Thursday, but I'm still gonna roll with the
Mhm.
Eagles.
Good call. I gotta get more locked in when I'm tallying up our sheet predictions here. That's 2 weeks in a row with those mistakes. Can't let that happen anymore, bro.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's yeah. It made me feel a little bit better when I looked at it, to be honest. But yeah, that
Yeah.
one did bother me a little bit, that game. Oh, Vegas at Miami, though, this is a pretty straightforward game. Vegas, though, coming off of a bye, making things a little bit more interesting. Miami coming off of Monday Night Football. So a lot of rest versus a little rest. I am still going to roll with the Dolphins. They've been looking pretty solid, even though they have not won all that much since Tua has returned. They've looked a lot more competitive. And at home against a reeling Vegas team, I think they can get the dub.
I'm going to be taking Miami as well, but it does come with some hesitancy here. I feel very concerned with the absence of Tyreek Hill on this offense, bro. Like, I am hesitant to even start him in my fantasy leagues, and I drafted him to be like a wide receiver 2 on the season. And he's, oh, sorry, like the wide receiver number 2 overall, not a wide receiver 2. But he's just been absent even with Tua back. And granted, he got a touchdown, but he only had 16 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, without his production, I get a little bit scared to pick the Dolphins. So I'm still taking them, but I'm just a little bit concerned that Vegas might be able to, pull off a victory without extreme production from the best weapon on Miami's team.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek apparently said that his incident with the police a couple weeks ago has re-aggravated his wrist injury. I don't know if he's just making excuses for himself. It does
Bro,
feel a little wonky donkey, but
yeah.
Jalen Waddle's got to step up here in this offense as well. So we'll see how
Hmm.
that goes. Cleveland at New Orleans. I think New Orleans might be kind of going back to those first couple games that New Orleans played. Derek Carr's back. They're rejuvenated under their interim head coach. I sniped that win against Atlanta last week. It was a close one, but they pulled it off. I think they could pull it off here against Cleveland. My only worry is a Jameis Winston revenge game. We have to remember that Jameis Winston played quite a lot on the Saints, and
Hmm.
he has totally proven that he can go off like we saw against the Ravens, and he had some really good games for the Saints. against the Saints as a Buck. So this could be one of those instances where he does go off. I remember he punished the Bucks a little bit when he played for the Saints. So that gives me some hesitancy here as well, but I'm still going to
Mhm.
roll with the Saints.
Yeah, that's fair. I wish that we had Jimmy's picks in ahead of time because he seems to be able to snipe the sort of Jameis Winston action as well. But that being said, I am going to be going with New Orleans this week. It doesn't feel like Cleveland's offense is going to be able to quite keep up with what New Orleans is doing. And like you said, with that kind of return to the beginning of the season caliber Saints that we saw earlier, I think that they'll be able to snag a win.
Nice. I agree. Indianapolis at the Jets. The Jets, man. Oh my God. One of my worst teams this year. Every time they just let me down. They can only play on Thursday nights, I guess. They beat the Patriots and the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Looks really good. Sundays, though, they can't make it happen. They've only won one game on the Sunday, and that was against
Hmm.
the Titans, and they had to come back even to get that one. I'm going to pick him again here, though. I don't know. Call me stupid, but I did not like what I saw from Joe Flacco and the Colts the last couple of weeks here. Threw three picks against the Bills. The Jets have a really solid defense. They could easily pick them off three times here. I don't think the weather's going to be that good as well. So I think that does favor the Jets, the home team. I don't know though. Joe Flacco, he could totally go off. I think he went pretty crazy against the Jets last year. Yeah, it was another Thursday night football game, Browns Jets, in which he threw for a ton of yards. I think they blew him out like 34 or
Hmm.
42 to 10
Dude, the Jets have just been such a hard team for both of us to pick this season. Like, it's not
for
just you,
real.
I mean, I have also really struggled with picking them, and they just are, they're just an impossible team to predict. You think that they'd be so much better than their record shows. But yeah, I mean, I just have to go with the Colts this week. It might be more of an emotional pick out of some of the frustrations that I feel in picking the Jets, but I just don't have enough confidence in their team right now to pick them against the Colts.
No, that's fair. Yeah, they have done nothing really to prove it to us. And I mean, have the Colts probably not either, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's just kind of an ugly game all around.
Yeah.
Then we have Minnesota at Tennessee, another very, very probably going to be ugly game all around. It does kind of feel like Minnesota at Jacksonville, which we just witnessed. Lots of interceptions. Sam Darnold
Hmm.
regressing. Trevor Lawrence injured, also possibly regressing. Will Levis actually played very well. He was like 18 of 23 for 175 yards and a couple touchdowns. Obviously, did not win, but he played pretty well. That's why this game does worry me a little bit on the road. But I feel like Minnesota is going to bounce back after just an abysmal performance in which they couldn't even get a touchdown. Which also I took Jacksonville plus 4.5 and they lost by 5. So I am just, yeah, some of the bad breaks this, I mean, all the luck goes to the Chiefs, but I'm just saying, I'm getting some bad breaks. I'm getting the end of that stick.
For sure. Yeah, it was definitely one of Will Levis's better games this season. In terms of the Vikings, though, that was just a crappy performance. 12-7 is just a ridiculous game compared to the team that they were just a few weeks ago, throwing up 30 plus points several weeks in a row,
Yeah, I don't know
looking
what
really,
happened.
I know, dude, it's crazy. I
Jacksonville's
mean,
defense is not good.
I know. And I mean, Sam Darnold was throwing for 300 plus yards several straight weeks. I mean, that guy seems to be gone. Like he looked like the guy for Minnesota, and now he doesn't seem to be that guy. Even though their record is still 7-2, their team doesn't look the same as that undefeated 5-0 team that we saw earlier in the season. That being said, still going to be taking them over the Titans. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Titans. It's just got to be Minnesota here.
Yeah, I mean, the law of averages really caught up to
Yeah.
Minnesota, but I'm
Yep.
still going to rock with them here. Green Bay at Chicago. I mean, like I've talked about, the Bears are an absolute disappointment. I don't know what's happened to that offense. The defense still playing pretty well, but when your offense is that bad, the defense can only do so much. And the defense starts to start thinking, man, we're not going to put up any points on the board. Like it's all
Hmm.
on us. And that's a hard mindset to play with for 4 quarters. So for that reason, I got to take Green Bay here. Not that they've looked incredible either. They have not looked all that great. They are coming off of a bye, though. I think that helps them in Chicago, getting a couple back-to-back home games and just blowing them out of the window, not taking advantage of them at all. I mean, if they come out and win this game, I'd be happy. I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, they have done absolutely nothing to show that
Yeah.
they can win a game against a quality opponent whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, as a Bears fan, of course, you're rooting for them to get a win here, but it just doesn't seem likely given the way they've been playing past few weeks here. They're not the same 4-2 team that they were earlier on. They have definitely just fallen from the glory, the small bit of glory that they had. And yeah, the offense just does not even look competent right now. I have to pick Green Bay here. Chicago is their season is washed. They're done.
Yeah, I mean, they look so good against Carolina and the Jags, but hey, I mean, it's Carolina and the Jags, so I
Yeah.
guess that kind of explains it. Rams at New England doesn't also this slate this week. There's like two good games. There's like 2 to 3 good games. This is definitely not one of them. I'm gonna take the Rams to bounce back though. I still am not impressed with what I'm seeing out of New England. They just don't really have the weapons right now, and their defense is also pretty mid. I mean, obviously against the Bears though, the defense is going to look elite. I'm gonna take the Rams here
hmm
though. I don't think New England can get it done back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, definitely kind of a tougher game to pick. Rams feel like the more obvious pick, but it's not like they looked great against Miami last week. They really struggled. And New England, again, they were facing the Bears, so you can't give the win too much credit, but it's more so the lack of offense that the Rams had that gives me a little bit of concern here. I'm still going to pick them against New England, but I don't feel great about this one.
Yeah, no, I could see an upset here. I would not be all that shocked. But hopefully the Rams can get it done. I did have some high hopes for them early in the year. Baltimore at Pittsburgh, a nice divisional rivalry game. This actually is a pretty good game here. I'm going to take Baltimore. I think Steelers coming off of an emotional victory. I think it was on the road. Yeah, that game was on the road. So now they're coming back home. This is kind of a tough spot for them. Baltimore coming off a couple extra days of rest. Now they also, you could say, had an emotional victory, and those can be
hmm
taxing, but I just feel like they're the more complete team. Russell Wilson playing decent. Nothing insane though. He did have 3 touchdowns, but wasn't overly efficient. Did turn the ball over. I think the Ravens were able to kind of exploit some of Pittsburgh's issues that they've been able to cover up by not playing uber like omega elite teams.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that for sure. Does feel like a good game on the slate here this week. Almost feels like a sneaky potential upset here as well. I was tempted to pick Pittsburgh, but ultimately I do feel that Baltimore is the better team. I'm going to be taking Pittsburgh to cover the spread this week, though.
Yeah, I think it's at 3 right now, but if you can get at 3.5, that is a phenomenal bet. And I hope
That
it
is
does. I
definitely
mean,
the
if it
play.
doesn't, just bite it up to 3.5.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Seattle at San Francisco. So we're getting the rematch of, I believe this was a Thursday night game a couple weeks ago. I'm still going to take San Francisco. Seattle, while they're coming off of a bye, I just feel like their season's just kind of chalked at this point. San Francisco not looking amazing against Tampa. I still think getting Christian McCaffrey back is huge. Brock Purdy played amazingly against Tampa. I mean, absolutely incredibly. He was distributing the ball to everyone. He was highly productive, throwing it about 10 yards a clip, and he is one of the masters at doing that. I know he's always had great
hmm
weapons, but out of any quarterback in the NFL, he throws the most yards per attempt most of the time, and that is a big stat for me. And I think that again, I mean, he is just eaten the Seahawks. He's never lost a game to the Seahawks, and that includes the playoffs. And I think that streak is going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to continue here if the 49ers want to get into the playoffs. They lose this game, they're going to probably be behind Seattle in the division standings. They'd have the same record. And I don't know, have they already faced twice this year?
This is their second time, yeah.
Okay, then they already won the first time. What's the next tiebreaker after the division head to head?
They're,
Would it be conference play or division record overall?
I think it would be their division record and then conference
Okay.
record.
I don't know what their division record is, but I mean, they
I mean,
would
it'll all play
potentially,
itself out. I don't think
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
have to come to that.
No, I know, but I'm saying just in the division standings for like next week, if Seattle were to win, 49ers would likely be behind Seahawks in the standings. I think. I don't know who has the better conference record or the division record, but
It's really
but
hard to
any
say because Seattle, they both lost to the Rams. I don't know how the Cardinals factor in all that right now.
well,
Let me take a
Cardinals
look
are
here.
leading their division.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in any case, 49ers got to get the dub here in order to keep their playoff hopes in a sort of more of a rosier view. Um, they are a better team than the Seahawks for sure. Just wanted to make sure that Brock is keeping up his performance here against Seattle. So gonna be rolling with the Niners this week.
So it would go down to their conference record because they would have the same divisional
Oh,
record at one and
okay.
three. But unfortunately, the Seahawks have lost the majority of their games in the NFC, but they
Got
have
it.
been great in the AFC. I mean, beating the Broncos, Patriots, and Dolphins, only losing to the Bills, but losing to the Lions, Giants, Rams, and only being the Falcons outside of the division there. So they would be pretty much tied, but the Niners would have a
Okay.
slight leg up on them.
Got it. Yeah. Well, they Niners still got to make sure that they're getting these wins in here since they're behind the Cardinals. And I mean, of
Yeah, oh
course,
yeah.
the Seahawks feel the same way, but Seahawks are not making the playoffs. It's going to be,
No,
most
I don't think
likely
so.
the Niners. Yeah.
Atlanta at Denver, sneaky good game here and probably the hardest one for me to pick. So I just opted for the home team. I did almost like I didn't know what the spread would be on this game, and I was kind of thinking whoever is the underdog, I'm just gonna roll with them. But I can't do it. While Denver is favored -2, I think that they are the better team here at home. I don't think the weather will be great across the board this weekend, so I think that might also play into it a little bit. I have not been super impressed with the Falcons against quality opponents. I mean, they got
Hmm.
waxed by Seattle. They just lost to the Saints. We know Saints aren't very good. They've beaten up on the Buccaneers twice and they got lucky against the Eagles. But besides that, I have not been super impressed with them. Kirk's been very inconsistent. And so I got to take the Broncos here, who are going to be fired up after that loss. It feels like they got stolen from.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely does feel like it was stolen from them. But you, you got to agree, though, that the Saints, you said, have rebounded since their kind of their rough patch
Yeah, I
this
mean, but
season. I
still, I
mean,
mean, they fired their head coach. They're not going to
yeah.
do any damage in the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're
Hmm.
still like a bottom 10 team in the NFL. And I know, you barely beat them the first time around. Now you lost to them, with Chris Olave out. So,
Yeah, well, maybe the Falcons will just feel galvanized after a couple tough losses here and feel inspired to beat Denver. But I mean, I guess Denver could have the exact same motivation after the loss to the Chiefs. I'm going to be taking Atlanta here. I'm just concerned about Denver's offense. I picked them last week against the Chiefs because it just felt like one of those sneaky sort of upset games that they're not supposed to win.
mhm.
But I don't have enough confidence to pick them again this week.
Yeah, they burned you last week. That's for
They
sure.
did. Yeah.
I was watching like an analysis of that like whole kick, and it was honestly the Broncos fucked it up pretty much. They
Hmm.
one of the linemen, like one of the blockers, he stood up too tall, so he just kind of toppled over like a very badly structured wall. But it's because like
Hmm.
so many people have been jumping over the line, so they are kind of stand up a little taller to prevent that, and it just backfired on them.
Yeah, I did not see the same analysis, but it totally makes sense. I mean, I'm just annoyed that the Broncos would pull buffoonery like that at such a crucial moment to end the Chiefs' 9-0
Right?
stretch. It's
Yeah, I know.
ridiculous.
I mean, the buffoonery was off the charts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Kansas City at Buffalo. Speak of the devil. You know what? I'm going to take the Bills here. Like I said, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs more times than not in this new Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes era in the regular
Hmm.
season, and then it's been vice versa in the playoffs. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I mean, who am I to resist that trend? while hopefully it can go the other way because I'd rather not see the Chiefs in another Super Bowl. And the Bills definitely will be one of maybe the opponents that they have to get through to get there. I'm going to take the Bills in this game on the road. Again, weather may not be great. I think that actually would favor Kansas City if it was like a neutral site, but that home field advantage up there in Buffalo is a lot to handle. And I
Mhm.
think they are more due for a loss than just about anybody.
I like the pick, dude. I'm going to be taking the Bills this week as well. It might be slightly emotional on my end, but the Bills are still playing very well this season. They're up at 8-2 now, and the only team I think with a better record than them besides the Chiefs is the Lions. So they're right
Right.
up there with the best in the league. And if anyone's going to finally take down the Chiefs, I think there's a good chance it's the Bills.
Yeah, my only problem with the Bills is that they only have one win over a team with a winning record, and that is the Cardinals. And the Cardinals just recently achieved that winning record when they
Hmm.
played at Baltimore at the Texans. They lost both of those, and the Baltimore one was really bad. And
Yeah.
we all know how the Houston one went. So that does give me some pause, but hopefully they can get a nice W here. All right, Cincinnati at the Chargers. Another really good matchup, and maybe this one's a little emotional for me. I feel like I should take the Chargers here, but I am going to roll with Cincinnati. The Chargers defense has been absolutely elite. Cincinnati's defense has been absolutely poo. Why am I taking the Bengals? I don't know. They're coming off a couple extra days of rest. The Chargers aren't overly explosive. They also have not beaten too many good teams at all. And the Bengals, I feel like the Bengals are just due for like a breakout win. Joe Burrow, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last 2 games. He's absolutely
Hmm.
tearing it up. He's on pace for, one of the best seasons of any NFL quarterback. He would be in the MVP talks if the Bengals had won a couple more games, if they took one from the Ravens, if they didn't lose to the Patriots early on. That's not the case, but I feel like this should be a nice little spot for them to make a statement here on Sunday Night Football.
For sure, man. I mean, if the Bengals scored like literally four more points this season, we would have totally different combos right now. One more point against the Ravens, and they would have that dub.
Mm-hmm.
And same with well, I guess it would be 2 points, but same with
Yeah.
the other game that went into overtime against the
Right.
Ravens. I mean, these both of those games should have been wins, and then you've got the Bengals at 6-4, which feels totally different than 4-6. And then Burrow's in those MVP chats. And it's just not looking like it's in the cards for him at this point, but he's still been playing super well. I'm taking the Bengals this week as well. Chargers offense has not been great. Justin Herbert's been playing solid,
Yeah.
but I mean, even against teams like Tennessee, he wasn't playing lights out, at least not until the end of that game. So, gonna roll with the Bengals here. They're due for a win.
Yeah. Hopefully it comes to fruition. Houston at Dallas, one of the worst Monday night games probably that you can imagine, but they're not going to take Dallas out of that spot, even though, Dak's out for the year. We know what they've become. So this should be a pretty easy Houston pick here. A nice little battle for Texas that we don't always get.
Yeah, it's got to be Houston, man. Dallas is just looking abysmal out there now. Not a whole lot else you can say about this one.
Do you know anyone going to this game as a Texan yourself, a fellow like resident of the state?
I don't, man.
Maybe if it
I
was in
don't know anyone.
Houston, you would, I'm sure.
That would be cool to see, yeah, although I don't have a whole lot of incentive to go see it if Dak's
No,
not playing. I mean,
no, yeah, for sure, for sure. But it is kind of a
yeah.
cool thing to see just because it doesn't happen. It happens like every 4 years.
Hmm. I
All
do
right,
like
on
that,
by, you
yeah.
got Cardinals, Panthers, Giants, and Tampa. Of course, Cardinals, or not Cardinals, Panthers, Giants coming off of that Germany game. That's why they're getting their bye.
Yes,
That was
sir. We
a,
did we did skip one
did
game
I
though.
skip a game?
Jacksonville at Detroit.
Oh, Detroit's gonna mop the shit out of them. If
Of
Jared
course,
Goff
bro.
can throw 5
Five picks.
interceptions and still win that game. Jared actually, he didn't play that bad. A lot of the interceptions, I think, were just kind of bad luck. I think he
Yeah.
probably should have ended up with like 3, but a
Hmm.
couple of them were just bad breaks.
Yeah.
And he still played well, though. You have to give it to him.
Hmm.
He played quite well, I think. It's just the box star is ugly.
Yeah, 5 picks against a solid Houston team and still getting a win is crazy. That's some Kansas City Chiefs type of luck right there.
Oh, the
So,
field goals especially. I mean, that was by
yeah,
a dick hair.
of course, bro. But
Like they
yeah, it's
said on the
gonna,
broadcast, an extra coat of paint and the Texans win. Which you
that
would
is
think
true.
it's in your own stadium. You might want to put another coat of paint on those uprights. They were looking a little scant paint wise.
Maybe you should go out there yourself and just paint him up, lube him up.
I might have to. Might crawl up there like a spider monkey with my yellow paint and just
Yeah, with your brush.
my brush. I might do that. Although you never know, it could go the other way for your team as well. So that's the dangerous part of it.
You just be the brush tiger for the week. Everyone likes
Yeah.
a good brush tiger.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right.
All right.
Finishing off here, also
Best
taking Detroit.
bets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, best
Oh,
bets for
yes. You need
sure.
to make your
But
pick.
Detroit, bro.
Sorry.
Gonna be Detroit. Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah. Rip your best bets.
I just wish Trevor was healthy, but he's not fully healthy. It's the same as last year. He played through the injury and just accrued a lot of bad stats. But anyways,
Yeah.
Thursday night football, I like the under in that game. I also like Washington plus 3.5. If you're going to give me the field goal on the hook, I'm going to take it in a matchup like this. I'm going to take Clemson minus 10, another minus, on the road favorite for Clemson here. Last week wasn't looking great against Virginia Tech, but they ultimately won and covered that game easily. So I think maybe the same will happen again. Arkansas plus 13.5. Eventually, I think you can get this at 14, 14.5. Obviously preferable to 13.5, but that's still a lot of points for Arkansas coming off of a bye at home against Texas. All right, here's the real one. I like this one. Ohio State, Northwestern
Hmm.
under 44.5. This game is being played at Wrigley Field, Northwestern Stadium under
Ooh.
renovation. They have been bouncing through, Chicago Fire, their little makeshift stadium, playing road games. They've been just hodgepodging it together all year. Games played in baseball stadiums tend to go low. So I like the under here, even though it already is pretty abysmally low. I also like Northwestern plus 28.5. They're going to get up for this game. They're playing at Wrigley Field. That's kind of cool, right? Ohio State's going to be like, this is weird. This feels off. So I like them and 4 touchdowns in the hook. That is a lot. Illinois minus 2.5. I'm going to take them at home against Michigan State. I like Syracuse plus 8 on the road. That's just a lot of points to give a team that is always competitive, it feels, except in that Pitt game. Notre Dame minus 22.5. It's crazy, but Notre Dame has been absolute cover animal. They have only not covered in the 2 games that they played against MAC teams, Northern Illinois and Miami of Ohio, back to
Hmm.
back weeks. In every other game, they have covered the spread, which is absolutely absurd. I, if you were to ask me that without me looking into all the nitty gritty, I would not have thought that they had covered in every game, but they are a cover monster and I like them to cover. I'll be at the game, so I will make sure of it. I'll run down the field and score a touchdown myself if I have to. Boston College plus 17. That's a lot of points to give them against SMU. Penn State, Purdue under 51. I think Penn State pretty much shuts them out there at home. West Virginia at home plus 3. Yes, please. I would like it at plus 3.5, but 3 works too. Missouri plus 12.5. That's a lot of points to give them against South Carolina, who's been a little bipolar this year. That is just absurd to me. That line, honestly, that is a crazy line. And again, a line that you might be able to get for 14, 14.5 as the week goes by. Arizona State, Kansas State over 50. That seems like a lock for a Big 12 matchup there. This one here, I'm a little unsure of. Georgia coming off that loss to Ole Miss. I think they bounce back and they beat Tennessee up with an injured quarterback, Nico Yamaleva. Oregon, Wisconsin under 52. Another one where I think Oregon just kind of, shuts them out, like maybe a 36-10 type of victory. BYU minus 3. This is, I have to admit, an emotional hedge. I feel like Kansas can win this game. I really do. I really like Kansas actually to win this game, but I'm just, if BYU loses, it's a very good thing for Notre Dame. Although we can get into the nitty gritty of that, it may not even matter when it's all said and done. But I'm starting
Hmm.
to really dislike BYU because they really should have lost 2 games this year so far. and they've gotten bailed out heavily. Washington State, New Mexico, under 72. Are you kidding me? That might be one of the girthiest over-unders I have ever seen. Last week, I took the under New Mexico State, San Diego State, under 68. That game, I think, was like a maximum of like 39 points scored. Oh my God, I was like taking candy from a baby. Now you're giving me at 72? Yeah. Minnesota, this is now NFL bets. Minnesota -6. Kansas City money line. I already talked about that. Plus 115. Chargers, Bengals under 47 and a half. Jets -4. Cleveland, New Orleans over 44 and a half. New Orleans also -1 at 105. Vegas plus 7.5. I like the touchdown on the hook there coming off of the bye. Green Bay, Chicago under 41. Again, weather's not going to be good. I like the under there. Houston, Dallas over 42 and a half, or over 42 rather. I think that Cooper Rush can actually score on this Texans team.
Good stuff, dude. I like the
Thank you.
bets a lot. We got even one of the same here, Las Vegas plus 7.5. Really like that play against a team in Miami that
Yeah.
has been quite rocky. Then I've got Cincinnati money line here against the Chargers. They're actually underdogs in this game, and to me, they just feel like the better team. Feels like a
Yeah.
good pick here. Then we got Pittsburgh plus 3.5. Like we said, the spread is +3, but we're going to take the alt spread plus 3.5. Honestly, I was tempted to even take Pittsburgh money line because it feels like a winnable game for
Hmm.
them against the Ravens here, but we're
Right.
just going to get sneaky with it and go with this alt spread. Then we've got Detroit -13 against Jacksonville. It's one of the biggest spreads we've seen this entire season, and I think they cover it. This feels like a 31-3 win over Jacksonville. Then you've
Wow.
got Houston -7.5. Feel like they're going to get a pretty sizable victory here in Dallas as well without Dallas's offense. I mean, the Eagles just covered like -28, I think. So, I mean, they're going to do the same with Houston. And then finally, Jacksonville, Detroit under 47. I just gave you the score predictions 31-3. Jacksonville only scored a tud last week. I think that this game's going to go under.
Good picks. I like that you're upping the volume of your best bets as the weeks have been going on. There was a week in there where you just had one, might have been a week where you
Yeah.
had none. Now we're up to like 6, 7 picks. I like it.
50% increase from last week, bro.
Yeah, that excites me. That's very, very good to
Arousing.
see. Do we have any fan mail?
Just the last week's picks. No one sent in their new picks to me this week, but we had Jimmy going 6-8. His record on the year 93-59, which means that both you and I have usurped Jimmy in the yearly year-to-date picks.
He's
And then
gone
my
cold.
yeah, then my dad 9-5 on the week. So again, my dad outperformed all of the sorcerers here. Um, so
I
yeah,
mean,
maybe
your
I made
dad has
some,
to be a sorcerer just by association. And,
yeah, the transitive property, bro.
exact. Yes, that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that we don't have their new picks for anyone who wants to trail them with some pretty high success rates over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, my dad has been very surgical, very cerebral when he's crafting these picks. Just wish he would have gotten them in on time because now they just immediately lose their value. Like it's just immense diminishing returns when you send in your picks late.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might start doing that myself. Next week I'm gonna submit my picks, and there's a good chance they're gonna be 16-0 when we're talking about my picks and predictions for Sunday after the fact. I'm just saying I think I have a pretty good chance to go 16-0.
I would agree, bro. It seems like an absolute locksmith.
Yeah. So, we got to work on that. But hey, let's get some new folks writing in. The email is in the descriptions of all these podcasts on every platform. Send us literally anything.
Hmm.
I mean, not anything, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And there's even the polls on Spotify, bro. We need to
Yes,
get some more participation in those.
exactly. 100%. So hopefully You guys can get on that. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. And we will see you guys next week for another episode of the pod.